where we even said, like, tell you what, you can build in any community, language you want, then this would mean that the configure would need to be synthesized. I don't know. I can't spell. Yeah, this is the word I'm looking for. It would have to be synthesized into something that is uniform that could be used in other places, right? And again, this is really how Pulumi works underneath the hood. Pulumi basically figures out a way of taking your language, turning it into a unified configuration, and then you can use that in other languages if you want. So I'd have to think about that a bit and like how that would work, right? But this is potentially possible to where even the shared packages could be in multiple languages. You could have Go ones, you could have, whatever ones, and then they get synthesized into some kind of unified, language that could then be brought into other languages, and then that could then be used in your code so that then the builder can then join all of those together, and then this code can parse your code as well as the synthesized code. Otherwise, what would happen is for V1, we'd have to say, well, if you're making community configurations, you have to make one per language, right? And maybe that's just the start. Maybe to not overly complicate it so that we have tons of other things. Maybe that's what we say is that, it's supported in Go, it's supported in Python, it's supported in TypeScript, and then we expose those so that people could use them. Again, I'm just spitballing here. I'm just kind of like thinking out loud, but that would make it at least so that if you had a community configuration of like Bash in Go, then you can immediately use it in your Go code, right? Or if you had a community version of Python for curl, you could immediately use it in your Python code. Otherwise, we would have to figure out a way of like synthesizing this to something where all three of these could do it. Do you want to do all that or integrate with all the tools available? No, we're going to do all of it. Yeah, we're going to do all of it. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where we're leaning on a tool that might eventually become, closed sourced. So yeah, no, we're going to build all of it. Like we're going to rebuild Terraform or Pulumi. Like we're going to rebuild stuff like that. Will it do exactly what they do? No, it'll do what we want it to do, but the concepts in some ways will be similar, like creating API calls that store state somewhere, and then the interesting thing is if we go back to deploy env in AWS, this could also go into the store, right? Where we create a artifact for your environment, and then you could have, prod, dev, staging, whatever. Yeah. Does that make sense? Again, I'm trying to wrap my head around this even as I write it. So let's do this. If you're doing full life cycle, have you thought about including rollbacks? So that's a super fair point. I haven't yet. Like that would probably be something I get once I kind of get closer to once we get closer to implementing that. But I do think that would be something that we would want to support. Yeah. There we go. Configuration. We'll call them backends, but they're really languages, right? What languages do we want to support? Bam. So yeah, this is kind of the idea. SDK. Yeah, configuration SDKs, yeah. That's a good way of saying it. And yeah, like there's like if I was to kind of like draw this out and be like, what are the things I know? Like obviously I have a really good feeling. Like I feel like let's do this. Let's colorize these things. So say for example, I wanted to exemplify to you guys the things that I feel confident that I could probably do now. I definitely think I could figure out the configurations, right? Like the schemas, all of that. I don't think that's necessarily too crazy. The any language part, though, that is going to be a little difficult, right? Because I would need to figure out what the languages use to generate too. So this is, I would even say this is a little bit more like, we'll say like this is a yellow, right? This is yellow. The builder part, I feel pretty confident in. Like I feel pretty confident, and maybe